Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 145 on Tuesday, the 14th of November 2017.
Hello, I'm Andrew, and this week we will both be having potential noise in the background. So please do excuse that, but we're keeping it reals just for you.
On the other hand, my half pint was only £8.50.
So other than us moaning about the price of beer, we will be talking about scrappage schemes moving on to commercial vehicles, the French government dumping some Renault shares. I went to a field and Alan went to a shed.
A number of sheds.
Yes, but we've got a little bit follow-up, haven't we, Alan?
We do. We've actually got quite a lot of follow-up.
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden, yes. Yes, well, this is because somebody declared there was no news this week. And all of a sudden, there was actually quite a lot of news.
It's my ploy.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, this week, just the other day, Volkswagen are going to have to pay out another $69 million in settlement over Dieselgate. And this time it's for the state of New Jersey, but which is the last of the US states to hold out from the original sort of Dieselgate pass across the US. That makes it a total of $25 billion that they have been being full payout. But some are saying they got off lightly with their $69 million in New Jersey because the maximum payout in the state that they would have been liable for, could have been liable for, was $1.2 billion for New Jersey alone. So, bit of a bargain.
Yeah, because there was a bunch of the states did almost like a class action, and then there was 10 individuals, wasn't there? So I think that's where it's come round. And obviously California was one of the individuals because they have so much power and they're so large. So reading through the statement, VW are incredibly relieved that they can draw another line in yet more sand and continue to, let's use the corporate terminology, move forward and look for the positives and all these other things.
It is a pretty hefty line, though, really now.
I mean, I think that's all the legal shenanigans in the US. They've now just got to do what they've agreed to do as well as pay the money. So that's typically a number of EVs models to be introduced in states, particularly SUVs, which puts them under quite a bit of pressure by 2020. Seems to be the common year, and things like that. So they need to get on with it, really. They need to be electrifying everything. So the whole, we're going to make our future all electric. Well, yeah, you sort of have to. Apart from leaving diesel alone, they had to anyway through legal obligations.
Yeah, they've not exactly left themselves a whole load of space in there. So we'll see how that goes. But that's not it for Dieselgate type stuff.
No, a bit of a surprise actually, because Audi have said that the German watchdog is suspecting that their some of their A8s have emission manipulation, which is not good. So that's the nitrogen oxide emissions as well, and this is with cars fitted with the V8 4.2 litre diesel that was built between, if I use the proper English language, were built between September 2013 and August 2017. They think that the software update will be, and it's only going to be a software update, should be available in the first quarter of 2018. So obviously people are furiously typing code right now.
Yeah, and it's not that monster, really. There are 4,997 of those 4.2 V8 diesels, of which they think 3,660 are in Germany.
Yeah. But, it's again, just as... On the one, I don't have masses of sympathy for Volkswagen, but it must be frustrating for certain parts of the group who think, oh, right, we've covered everything now. Let's move on. Let's really push on with fixing things. And then they get, it's like a couple of steps forward and a couple of steps back type thing, because then it rears its head again And people then still think, well, this was up to August this year, and they knew about Dieselgate 2 years ago. And come on, are they being open and honest with us like they say? Can we trust? It just adds more fuel to fires. And
remember that half the time, what people think is corporations being evil. It's actually just corporations being incompetent. I can't stress that enough. It's
No, because if they're that clever to be evil, they'd be making much more money.
They wouldn't be caught
Yes.
in the starters. Basically, if they were as smart as everybody seems to think they are, being evil, they wouldn't have been caught. So,
yeah, what people forget is that people run corporations, so of course they're not that smart.
Tell me about it.
Right, moving on.
Yeah, well, anyway, there's a whole idea coming up with a fantastic way to get around some of the emissions issues associated to diesel. Basically, I was going to try and coach it in other ways. But it's to diesel and other hydrocarbon-based fuels, and that's because they're going to magic it from thin air. They're going to have a.
Not quite. Sorry. Is it?
Did I simplify that a little bit?
They're going to bring out the Harry Potter ones. Nastio Reductus.
Dieselo Petroleum. So no, that's not quite what they're going to do. They're setting up a prototype plant in Switzerland. That's Switzerland, which is the heart of all things green. If you're not Norway,
yeah, the car-loving country.
Oh, they absolutely adore motor vehicles in Switzerland. So what they're going to do is they're going to create this what they're calling e-diesel. And what they're going to do is they're going to get renewable hydroelectric electricity. And what they're going to do is they're going to use that to power electrolysis, which will split water into oxygen and hydrogen. Okay, and then they're going to get some CO2, and they're going to shovel that into a container, according to this diagram, where they're going to do magic chemical synthesis. And out of the container, as I say, I'm paraphrasing this diagram a little bit. They're going to end up with heat for use in residential areas roundabout. So there'll be some community heating. That's quite popular in Switzerland and in Germany and stuff. They're going to end up with renewable waxes for cosmetics, foodstuffs, and the chemical industry, and they're going to end up with e-diesel for powering your car, which is going to be carbon neutral diesel. So there.
Okay.
The big problem I find with this personally is that, first of all, the electricity which they get at like stage 1 of this 4-stage plus all the distribution thing can be used to power vehicles. And then at stage 2, they electrolyze the electricity, and that gives them hydrogen, which can also be used to power diesels. So most of the vehicles. So most of this seems to be an exercise in redundancy and pouring in yet more energy in order to turn something which you could already power a vehicle with into something else that you can power a vehicle less efficiently with.
Yeah, but it does make sense for large swathes of the world, though. Maybe not Western Europe, maybe not America, because where they don't have the infrastructure to or can afford to buy EVs and hydrogen vehicles. I'm thinking predominantly, third world countries. If we can give them, or if they can be given cleaner diesel, that is, it's a small step of better. It's not to cure the problem, but they're going to have diesels for a longer time than we are.
The challenge in that, Andrew, and I hear what you're saying, and I don't actually disagree with you, but the first part of that is the renewable electricity. The cleanliness of this entire setup relies on the cleanliness of that initial electricity, and that's
that will take investment in infrastructure to build solar panel plants of a sufficient power to to provide the energy required here. Hydro is another thing, but obviously in a lot of these third world areas, the natural forces are more extreme than they are perhaps in, say, Western Europe and America, because we have tamed them to a certain degree over years with money, basically. So
I think your solar point was a good one, by the way, because I'd forgotten about that, and I was about to make some joke about the amount of hydroelectricity available in Saharan Africa, and you just kiboshed that gag straight away. So, yeah.
sorry, I don't mean to ruin your gags.
Yeah.
I like to mock them after, but not ruin them.
Well, you trashed that one before.
Okay, more follow-up then.
Yeah, last piece.
Scrappage schemes. Interesting article in motor1.com asking the question, because Mercedes commercial vehicles, or their vans, has opened a scrappage scheme. Is the auto industry in panic?
I don't know. Panic. Panic is probably a little.
Yes, I mean it's a nice grabby title.
Yeah.
But I think perhaps a little bit concerned, considering it's 7 months of downward trend for cars, and I can't remember for.
It's a slightly shorter period for other vehicles, I think. So but there is a general downward trend, and we knew this was coming. Eventually, to be honest, I think it makes a lot of sense to have scrappage. If you're going to have scrappage on cars, let's rephrase. Let me try again. If you're going to have scrappage on cars, it makes sense to also have it on vans if you must, to drive their sales, because I think there's many points where people could move from cars to vans in there, and most of the vans, smaller vans, share engines, etc., with cars, and therefore.
Well, the vans are covered by the toxicity charge as well, aren't they? So,
Yeah.
and they will be, a small van, small light commercial vehicles are being hit by the same penalties that car people are being hit or will be hit by, with other cities looking to introduce. So it just makes absolute sense that if it's a light commercial vehicle, absolutely put them on scrappage, and it will help. If we're going to talk get dirt, because the whole thing is to get dirty diesels off the road, and if this helps a company be able to afford that, then it's a good thing. Because, as we've said repeatedly, nobody deliberately keeps a dirty old diesel on the road. They can't afford a different one. That is the reason.
So, the thing is that actually, if you are going to play the eco and the green line on all of this, then of course vans generally do more mileage than cars do in a year, and therefore the payback from an environmental point of view of having a cleaner one actually happens more quickly.
And we all know that they're driven much harder. I mean, they're some of the fastest vehicles on the road, fastest accelerating, fastest braking. So they use up energy a lot more than say a passenger car.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Right, that's follow up over and done with.
It is, thank goodness. So some new news then, and I'm not. Honestly, I'm not 100% certain if it is new news. So it could just be new gossip. I'm trying to put as many caveats in here as possible at the start. But there were mutterings over the last few days about Tata investing in Chinese EV startup Faraday Future over the last few days. Now, this originated from a number of different sources in different places around the world. Of course, Tata Motors owns Jaguar Land Rover, and so this could well. There have been mutterings before this that JLR and Tata is looking for another brand, another kind of. And the mutterings were that they were newer brands rather than one with the whole with the history that both Jaguar and Land Rover, Range Rover, etc., bring along with them. So all of a sudden, it has come out that Tata has made an investment worth about $9 billion or 6.87 billion pounds in Faraday Future for about 10% of the company, which is a
No, 900 million.
no 900 million. Pardon me.
Apparently, Faraday Future is worth $9 billion. I don't dollars, $9 billion.
It's still
How
not
is
big enough to
Faraday
start.
Future worth $9 billion, considering
I don't know.
their top brass seems to either be fired or leaving as quick as their petrol-driven cars will drive them away from the company.
The thing that makes this a little bit niffy in my mind, right, is that number, that 900 million for 10% of the company. That to me is the bit that makes me think, is this just BS? So yeah, I mean, Faraday Futures had a pretty rough time of it recently. They owe money to many people. They were trying to build a humongous battery factory in Texas, and we've discussed before about the builders not being happy and people not claiming that they're not being paid. So if this is true, then it's a lifeline for Faraday.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% certain on
I'm not convinced. Tata refuses to make any comment on this as well, by the way. I saw that being mentioned this afternoon.
Yes, that's what
it's a pie in the sky company that they're potential, that they're allegedly investing in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure it makes much sense because they've not got a working model, proper working model out there that's out in the wilds. They're very much under controlled conditions that we are seeing them.
But the more I read into this, the niffier I find it, to be honest.
Yes, anyway, I get the feeling it may be a rumor started to encourage others to invest before they get left behind type thing.
Yeah. Anyway, we shall keep an eye on it. We shall let you know if there's any follow-up.
Yep. Right. Talking of money and legacy companies, the French government, when I think it was when Macron was the economic minister, bought quite a chunk of Renault.
It's always owned quite a chunk of Renault. At one point, Renault was entirely nationalised.
Well, they bought more shares in early 2015. But he stated that if he became the president, then he would reduce how much the French government does own. And now he has fulfilled that. And they have sold 4.7%. So they're now down to only 15% of shares.
They're still the majority shareholder.
Yes. Yep. So, I mean, he's a politician doing what he said he'd do. I mean, I'm glad I'm sat down when I read things like that.
Doesn't happen very often these days. 14 million of those shares were actually bought back by Renault with the intention of distributing them amongst, selling and distributing amongst the employees. So, yeah.
Yep, so that is that one.
That's that one. So keep sticking with France for a little bit here. Then there's an article in Le Parisien, the Parisian newspaper.
And there's a reason, everyone, if you read the link in the show notes, which I do encourage you to do, there's a reason why Alan has this article and not I.
It's because the article is originally in French. But if you're using something like, Chrome or something, it should offer to translate the article for you into possible English. So yeah, it's not a lost cause completely. But this one's an interesting one because it touches on, in my mind, it touches on the future of these autonomous vehicles and these magic taxis we're all going to have.
Well, all the ride sharing and hailing and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Sorry, as I said, I am sitting in the pub and there was a very quick beer delivery there. I'm just moving some stuff out of the lady's way. Because I'm polite that way. So, where was I? Oh, yeah. So, it starts to touch on the future of autonomous vehicles and autonomous taxis and all these kind of things. It's the Parisian Autolib scheme, which is a set of taxis not taxis, of electric vehicles, which there are all around Paris, which are available for use on a subscription type scheme there. Um, there's been a notable upturn in the last 6 months of people essentially squatting in the cars. So people who are homeless people mostly, who are who look at the car and think, there's a nice warm place that I could sleep in or inhabit, and essentially breaking into the cars, trashing the interior, and sleeping in them and whatever else, and not really being very keen to move generally. And this, of course, is having a knock-on effect on the Autolease scheme, in that it's putting people off. It's putting people off using the cars. Whenever they do use them, they're complaining that there's strong smell of urine and stuff in one of the examples that's discussed here. All these kinds of things, as well as basically the exteriors of the cars getting even more trashed than some of them already are, because they've been around for a good 6 or 7 years now. So what it brings up is the question with so many of these magic autonomous taxis, which are just going to be driving around cities. What's going to happen with them? Because they're going to have exactly the same problems here.
Yeah, but I also think we're being sold, we're being told by manufacturers as well as futurists that, your car can earn money for you when you're not driving it. You only use it for 10% of the time you have it, blah, 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 most people. So why not get it out there earning money? And then I sit there and I think, well, I don't want anyone else to get in my car. I don't like it when my own children get in my car because they make it filthy, let alone a complete stranger who couldn't care less what the car is like after they get out of it.
The current edition of... Oh, sorry. Have you listened to the current edition of the Autonocast?
Is that the one with Jim on it?
No, it's the one after that.
I haven't heard that one yet, no.
It's quite good. They do discuss this kind of stuff. They do talk about they do talk about are there cameras facing into the vehicle, these kind of things, because you need to be able to see them, either who is causing issues in here and trashing the place, or whatever. You need it there for security reasons. There is if there is an assault or something in the vehicle, you actually have some evidence for one party or another, and it's quite interesting from that point of view, just what Ed and Alex's opinions are on that. And it ties into this quite a lot about, well, who's going to maintain, who's going to make sure, who's going to monitor these things. And that maybe is a problem that Polobe, who run Autolease, have in Paris right at the minute. The ultimate problem in this case, by the way, isn't just the autonomous vehicles. It doesn't necessarily just fall below its feet. There is a wider socio-economic issue that surrounds the fact that, hey, there are these vehicles that don't really necessarily belong to any one person. So I might as well just crack in there or make myself a nice warm bed in there, because hey, my tent in the corner of the street is not the best place.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we explore further or take further Nir Khan's chat with us on the round table, where he put forward a possible idea of autonomous vehicles being a box that takes us from A to B at any time of the day or night, and is like a mobile hotel. Do people who are struggling to afford accommodation just go, actually, it's cheaper for me to hire this box to go round, whether it's a current car or a car in today, or in however many years before we have these vehicles.
Magic autonomous things.
Yes, the pretend magic things. Or everyone will walk on water as well. But I mean, potentially, are we all, or are people having those as mobile homes now? You know,
Well,
because
yeah, literally a mobile home. You can be living in it whilst it moves around. Um, I don't know, possibly. It kind of goes beyond the remit of motoring podcast.
yeah, sorry, it's just when you were saying that that's one use I could see. But I will go back to if we talk about this whole ride sharing, having your vehicle earn money for you while you're not there and anything. If you let us, it is incredibly silly to allow a stranger into your vehicle without you there. It is equivalent of allowing someone into your house.
And it's
And
not just,
from a tinfoil hat point of view, from a security of the vehicle point of view, it is very, very bad to allow that to happen. So I can see many reasons why these schemes are non-starters, and it is just absolute dreams of people who keep saying it, hoping it will become reality, and it never will.
and the other point of that part there, which is possibly slightly off topic for this, which is that whole access thing doesn't just come with ride sharing and drive sharing thing. And that also comes with some of the possibly more realistic things that are coming up, like the ability to have a parcel delivered to your car.
Oh God, no.
Or any of those ones. But anyway, before Andrew actually explodes, and this wasn't the part that he thought he was going to explode this week, by the way. Then shall we move into the 2 minutes of guilt?
Yes, let's go to guilt zone.
Guilt zone, quite. Well, this is a point we are probably about halfway through. This is the point where I take a moment or two to remind you about our Patreon. As our Patreon is a way that you can support us on the Motoring Podcast in a small way or in a huge way. It's entirely down to you. By donating us at least $1 a month each month. For that, you get an email. Pretty much every time an email goes live, as long as I'm somewhere that I can set up and send the emails from, I think is pretty much the caveat on there. But if you'd like to know more about that and see what's available and what's possible, then if you head to motoringpodcast.com and click on the orange Become a Patron button on the right-hand side, it will take you to our Patreon page where you can see the kind of stuff that we're talking about. If, of course, you can't do that, and we understand that isn't possible for everyone, then if you could, via the podcast playing platform of your choice, leave us a like and a review, then that would be absolutely fantastic. If you're not sure which one to use, then iTunes is the biggest and most influential podcast platform. So review on iTunes would just be fantastic, even if you then put the software afterwards. That is really going above and beyond. Shall we continue? Right, now that Andrew's had a moment or two to calm down, I think that's a calm down phase. Just check.
Should we carry on with Fantasyland?
With Fantasyland, because these really are Fantasyland. This has been, Andrew said earlier on that it was going to be relatively short on new news this week, and I noticed that other people have been finding the same problem because all sorts of people have been reporting the latest of Uber's fantasies, which is their plan to launch flying cars in Los Angeles by 2020. And people such as Wired, who should know better, but their transportation section, I'm afraid, is a bit sucky, in my opinion.
By that you mean absolutely dreadful and doesn't know what it's talking about?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
So I like to clarify these things with you. You know that.
I love Wired. I have a subscription to Wired, but the transportation stuff just sucks monkey nuts. I'm allowed to say that. Yeah.
Yes. I don't think they'd understand what that meant. So we'll go with that.
All of the words were perfect.
Well, we'll find out next time they see Uncle Alan and ask him.
It's perfectly reasonable. You can buy them by the sack for Halloween. Maybe that wasn't the best phrase. tell we haven't done this together for 2 weeks. God, I missed it. I had withdrawal symptoms last week. So anyway, Wired are talking about, amongst others, by the way, and I could have chosen. I picked up Wired partly because I do give them money every year, but there's a whole swathe. The Verge, any of these kind of tech sites have been going all warm and gooey over this announcement by Uber that it wants to run flying cars in LA by 2020. Can I just have a quick word about the term flying cars, right? If it flies, it's not a sodding car. All right, it is quite clear it's not a car, it is an aircraft. A car is not an aircraft. No subset between them. They are both methods of transportation. Specialization happens much higher up. Okay, so an aircraft is not a car is not an aircraft. There's no such thing as a flying car unless it's one of those ones that transforms. You know, like in The Man with the Golden Gun, I'll give you it there. That is a flying car.
What, in that fictional film?
The film, yes, with that AMC Matador. Yes, in the fictional film. There have been other non-fictional but never quite productionized flying cars, so, you know, can't think of names right now. Anyway, Uber planning to run this. The chances are it's going to be, if it is anything ever, then it's going to relate to vehicles of aircraft running set routes around the place. This is not a case that you will be able to summon something to come along, hover, land outside your house. Out you go into the Uber. The Uber aircraft thing takes off and then land outside your favorite shop. That's not what's going to happen. It's going to be set routes. It is going to be essentially an aircraft taxi service, something which isn't completely new. It has been done. It has been tried in. Let's take an example. Oh yeah, New York in the early 1980s, where it was actually including the Concorde ticket. Go along and then from JFK it would take you into Manhattan to 3 or 4 stops. Bus service. And that's all they're talking about on there. So it's lovely, it's great. The other thing there that there isn't is there isn't the infrastructure. If you've got things flying in the air, then you're going to have to integrate with air traffic control and with air traffic management. And if you don't have that kind of thing set, and it isn't, if they're pilotless, which is what's inferred in these stores, then you need to be able to automate that. That doesn't exist yet. Trust me on that. Okay, it does not exist. There would need to be a much there actually needs to be the infrastructure there. And again, these also, I keep talking about these being electric flying vehicles, and so there needs to be pretty hefty charging infrastructure in place there too. So I mean, there's all that background needs to go in there. Will that happen in 2 years? Probably not.
Well, you know what, this story just smacked me of the, and we do have a prime example of this being used regularly. The whole, we will hide the bad news we've had recently by making some outrageous statement that can never be proved, but it's okay because it looks all positive and futuristic, so everyone will leap on it, and we'll only be thought of as a good company again. And that's what it smacked of to me, because it is so ridiculous. For the number of levels the number of items you've just described there, it is ridiculous and utter garbage, particularly 2020. Oh, give over. Come on. I mean, anyone who honestly wrote that and then didn't say, didn't put in the article, but of course this will never happen. Go and have a look at yourself in the mirror, because that's just stop reproducing somebody's press release. Do your readers a proper service and start analysing this stuff and pulling it apart and asking questions on, is it viable? Because it's utter garbage going out, and that's not good enough for everyone. Because that's where we get the idea that autonomous vehicles are around the corner. that, you know, the electric vehicles are going to take over the universe in about 20 minutes. You know, all these other things. It's not true. Stop making out that this stuff is happening when it isn't. And I haven't sworn. I've done very well. I've not sworn.
You have. It's good to be back, isn't it, though?
Yes.
Yes.
You've missed us, haven't you?
Meanwhile, when it comes to real companies investing in weird stuff, then we're not away from the whole flying it's definitely not a car thing yet, because Geely, parent company, of course, of the London Electric Vehicle Company, Volvo and Lotus nowadays, has actually acquired, described as the flying car that's always 2 years ago. The company, which I thought was really good, the company Terrafugia Incorporated, which is a US startup founded in 2006 by 5 MIT graduates. And yes, they are trying to make personal flying vehicles. It's still, I'd say, more than 2 years ago, but it is still closer to realization than any of the other stuff that we've seen. But yeah, to be honest, if anyone was going to buy a company like this and help it actually happen, then the chances are that Geely is a pretty good one. Some of the companies in this portfolio have quite a lot of experience in lightweight materials, and some of the aspects that are needed for flying. Right, Andrew?
It is.
Good. Anyway, you guys can't see what I can see. Anyway, you spent some time this weekend standing out in the cold. Oh, no, sorry. You were being very helpful and useful.
I was occasionally, but I was standing. I went and visited a field on the west coast of Anglesey that happened to have a racetrack on it and a race going on. It was the Race of Remembrance, Mission Motorsport. And I rocked up at just gone 9 on the Saturday morning by the time I got there, after driving through clouds to arrive. So my hopes were not high weather-wise, but actually it was really nice on the Saturday. There was a moment I nearly took off my jumper. It got that warm on the Saturday. It was cooler on the Sunday when the wind came through. But yes, so the Race Remembrance, if you've been listening to the show, you'll have heard us banging on, me particularly saying how this is their annual race where cars come together and they do it over the Remembrance weekend and hold a service on the Sunday. They stop the race for while the service goes on to remember those affected by conflicts and the wars that have happened. But this year they've made it bigger than ever. It was going to run over 12 hours, so 6 hours over 2 days. On the Saturday, it ran till 9 o'clock at night. So there was nighttime driving, which was a thing to behold. And I think it was a thing to behold for the drivers, actually, as well.
That was the impression I got from what I read.
They had the Jaguar F-Type poppy car, one of the two, that had just done 10 days around Britain to help raise money for charity and raise awareness. That thing looks fantastic when you're up close. It is a brilliant piece of work. And congratulations to the team from Mission Motorsport who worked on it, and also congratulations to Jaguar for getting involved and helping out in that way. So there was many classes. There was also invitational, and when I rocked up, I was wandering around like a lost soul.
Oh,
I was very much, but I was surprised because I thought I sort of walked accidentally through wrong gates because I could walk around the back of the garages and all this sort of stuff.
This is what happens in club racing, mate. This is one of the reasons I enjoy.
Well, you see, I don't know. This is the first race I've ever been to, you know. So, and I was going to spend 2 days of being to the first race I'd ever been to. So I turned up, and then, you know, I set out a couple of tweets, and I got a tweet from a follower saying, "Hello, we're part of PT Sports Cars. We're in Garage 13. Pop in and say hello." And I thought, okay, I'll grab a coffee and I'll go in and say hello because I haven't bumped into anybody I know yet. So I walked in there, and then I find out that due to an accident at a previous race of C1 cars, because it was the C1 class, this was, so a Citroen C1. This is what was being raced. Had its own little class. That the car that was entered was damaged, and the person who was running the team for it was injured in the accident. So a different car turned up, and the chap who was running it and knew about C1s was not able to get there. So the 4 drivers who were there were trying to work out, how do you set up a C1? Can we have some tools? They were begging, borrowing, and stealing off people. And Mission Motorsport gave them two chaps to help out. One was Andy Mills, who is a guy who's just walked from Germany to the UK to raise money.
Oh, I saw tweets about him, yes.
Yes, so it was great to meet him. And the other one was Andy Jepson, who is in the Renault F1 garage. So you think, right, well, they've got an advantage.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
they had you.
that was a further
millstone.
Yes, quite. Unfortunately, and the 2 Andys' work involves IT, not actually wielding spanners.
Oh,
so the best spanner people were the drivers, but the 2 Andys were there and were happy to help out, and they did a fantastic job. As they were so bereft of help, I said, well, if there's anything I can do, if you need something carrying somewhere, I can manage that, but that's about it. So in the end, I stayed there for the whole race after they'd done some qualifying, and I occasionally cleaned lights and windows, except for I did so well right up until the last pit stop, where I threw the bottle of Evian that was actually full of elderflower cordial. So then I had to rush back in and get a proper bottle of Evian, and I've been so good ever since it had been told about it. So then I had to rush and get the. So that was I was doing so well, but no, it was great. And PT Sports Car had the C1 number 5, and it ended up second in class.
Oh, fantastic! How many?
They went. 4, 5.
I think more than 2. Awesome. Well done.
Yes, quite. No. And I have to say thank you to Justin Beadle, Charlie Martin, Thomas Kleins, Drew Faulkner, Susanna, Andy Jepson, and Andy Mills for putting up with me for that entire time. And I have to say, it was.
Can you imagine what 6 days was like?
Oh, what an amazing event it was, and to be able to witness it from within the garage and see all the other teams and how they were going about things, and being on the pit wall and that sort of stuff, and seeing where people get into trouble. And because in the first hour, the safety car had to be deployed, and he was running at 60 mile an hour. That's race speed for the C1s. So after the first pit stop, the drivers ran up to track control and said, "Excuse me, can he go slower? Because we're struggling to keep up with the safety car." But it was awesome because people mucked in. I mean, it's like you say, it's club racing. I've never experienced it. I have no idea, but it's club. And we were in with BS Motorsports, who won the class. So much they were so far ahead, they had time in the last half hour to pull in, do the minimum 4-minute pit stop, and be washed, so they were clean going over the finish line.
Oh,
which was awesome to see. They got round of applauses from everybody else. They did that, but that was pretty cool to watch. But it was great, and the service was. I've never been to a service like it. I have to say it was a very different atmosphere, because there was people of a younger age who were with colleagues or people who've been in similar situations together, and it wasn't like old people that you didn't know or mixed in with grannies. You know, that was a very unique atmosphere to be near. So well done to James Cameron and everyone else there that helped make that race happen, and all the stuff that happened. And hopefully they raised lots of money, and they through on the Saturday after the practices and before the race started, there was track rides for Mission Motorsports people, so that people rocked up in lots of very gorgeous cars.
Yes, I saw some of the pictures.
Yeah, and they were taken round the track and stuff. So it was good that they could get a bit of fun out of it as well. But it was amazing, and also well done to Honda for the CRV. That was hilarious to watch go round.
And Alex, Guy, and everyone else who's driving that.
Yes, and also
more about that to come.
Yes, and also thank you to Rotation Up North. It was great to meet you and for you to talk me through a few things, and also to Chris Ratcliffe. It was great to meet you there, and the last set of photos you put up of me are incredibly flattering.
What?
He's put photos of me doing stuff. So you'll have to go onto Twitter and find them, and they're very flattering.
I'm amazed that you managed.
Yeah, it's mainly if you don't see me. I'm joking. They are very good, and it was great to catch up with him again, and actually meet him for the first time because of course he's been on review. So, whilst I was busy standing in an occasionally wet and windy field in Anglesey, what were you doing, Alan?
What, helping raise money for an incredibly worthy cause. Yeah, I wandered around the NEC actually, and I feel that it was quite a calm down after that. I'm perfectly frank, I don't know how I can keep up with that, so I'm really quite jealous. But it sounds like you had a wonderful time. I went to the NEC Classic Motor Show. I'm sure there's some bit in there about sponsored by who they're sponsored by, I worked my way around much of the show on Saturday. Took many pictures. I tweeted and Instagrammed and Facebooked like mad much of the day until I was A, knackered, and B, bumped into friends of the show, Andrew Brady and John Kershaw and Martin Blues.
Excellent.
And I also bumped into David from Lobster Diecast, who also has been on review. That was lovely, and I bought a MX-5.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Classic Motor Show was it's a really good show to visit. It's even better now that they've got rid of that awful orange lighting at the NEC.
I was going to ask whether you'd taken a special filter or something, because everything was not sort of a tinge of jaundice.
No, everything. They've replaced all the lighting in there with bright white lights, and the difference it makes as a visitor is humongous. No headache by the end of the day for a start, and as well as that your photos don't have completely messed up white balance. It was really good. And the usual kind of eclectic setups, everything from sort of unusual British Motor Corporation prototypes to proper barn finds, to right the way through to cars that you've had on your bedroom wall when you were younger. Everything from absolutely mint Countach on the Lamborghini Owners Club site right the way through there was a particular Austin A90 Atlantic which it's a wonder they got it there in as few pieces as it was there in, really, because it was a proper genuine barn find. It wasn't one that they just thrown some straw on. No. You saw these goals so people can't go, oh, is it really bright? Dusting, huge chunk. It sprays the dust off. You just don't touch it. You'll put your finger right through it. The glass was salvageable. There you go. But yeah, some wonderful stuff across all the holes. I missed about half of hole 5 in the end. I realised afterwards when people kept tweeting all these pictures. Thinking, I knew they should have been there somewhere. I just couldn't find it. So sorry.
Ding.
And it turned out that I'd missed out about a quarter to a third of all the fun. So apologies for people there. But yeah, really good day out as you'd expect.
Excellent. Cool. Well, there will be a link in the show notes to your video of highlights.
Yes, which I need to actually make more than just private, because you've seen that if you've been into our YouTubes. So yes, I should sort that. And it also ties into what's become both our ad filing and our list of the week this week, which is the best cars and weird finds. It's the 10 Unlikely 2017 NEC Classic Show Stars, and it's by Keith Adams, who knows a bit about these kind of things. He's these things, devout Citroen enthusiast, etc. Of his 10 favourites from around the show, and to be honest, they really are quite fantastic. Some of the oddballs that you find there. It's a show that I will recommend visiting to recent wanderings in Anglesey.
Yep, absolutely. See the link in the show notes.
Mm-hmm. That pretty much rounds us up for this week, I think.
It does indeed.
It does. So yeah. Between now and next week, you can give us any feedback and share your thoughts with the show at Motoring Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, on Facebook, and on the contact page of motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Please remember our Patreon. If you go to motoringpodcast.com and click the Patreon button to find out more, and leave a rating and review on iTunes or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. It really, as I say every week, it really does matter. Andrew, getting in touch with you.
Best way would be via Twitter if you search for Crack Windscreen on there. No, I have not extended my name properly. It's still as it was. But if you search for Crack Windscreen, you will find me there. I'm the person standing on the back bumper of a car. And Alan, if people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way to do that?
Twitter again, but there is no such William Willard impersonation going on in my profile picture. You can find me at AJP Bradley, BRADLEY. We'll be back next week. Until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring.